Hey everyone, this is Stu with the Military Investor Network, and today I have the pleasure of talking with Chad Payton. He is out in Santa Cruz, California, and he's going to tell us all about what he's doing with real estate investing. Welcome, Chad. Glad to have you, man.
Yeah, good to be on here, Stu.
So Chad is an Army veteran, West Point grad.
Mhm.
So I'll first congratulate you on the big win this year.
Isn't that 3 years in a row?
Well, I think it was like 15 or
It was,
16
it
years
was,
or something like that before
we're just
that.
kind of
So
even it out a little bit. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So congratulations, my friend.
Appreciate that.
So Chad is he's married with two kids. He has a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, and he was a pilot in the Army and now transitioned to the civilian world and is a commercial helicopter pilot out there in California, and also invests in real estate. He also is a cash flow coach with the company called Cashflow Tactics, and he's really excited about teaching others about taking control of their finances and living that purpose-driven life, which is really all about. So, Chad, tell us more about what you're up to, what you're doing these days in real estate.
Yeah, so I buy turnkey properties, single families out in St. Louis. I have another good buddy of mine who's a West Point grad. He's the one that kind of got me started and all of that. So I'm just, taking down properties right now, trying to get as much passive cash flow as I can so that I can basically go out and live the life that I want to live.
Oh, that's awesome, man. So these are all fully rehab, rented properties in St. Louis.
Yes. Yeah. So it's one-stop shop. They acquire them, they do all the rehab. They assume that risk that comes along with open up the walls, as you were well aware, since
Yep.
that's the business you're in. And then they, market it, put the tenant in, and then manage it all in one place. So it's been great. If you can find a good operator to turnkey, it's, in my opinion, it's the best way to spend your investment money if you're looking for passive. It's not passive. That's a little bit misleading, but it's about as passive as you can get inside the real estate community.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say the only thing that's less passive than that is just being on the lending side and just kind of handing out some money and then just sitting back. But yeah, buying the turnkey product is pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So you're buying it from this company called Cashflow Tactics, and now you're a coach with them.
Mhm.
So what is the strategy that Cashflow Tactics is all about?
So they use real estate as a tool, real estate investing, and buying a buy and hold strategy to produce enough passive cash flow to exceed your expenses. And essentially, the goal behind that is to be able to remove finances from the centerpiece of your life so that you can peel that back. And now you basically are buying your time back so that you can go out and use your time to, improve your spiritual life, your physical life, your mental and emotional life, really to curate that lifestyle that you want to live, to be able to do the things you want. Because oftentimes we're not able to go out and do exactly what we want to do because we got to pay the bills, right? And especially once you introduce the family to it, as a father, I feel like that's my primary role, is to be the provider for my family. And so that was kind of the struggle for me, was before I started this, I do the job that I do because I do have a lot of good time off. But the money is not as great as if I did something else. So in order to create more money, I've got to go work more hours. And then, it was a struggle. I had to choose between spending that time with my family and providing the income so that we could go do the things that we wanted to do. And that's kind of what led me into real estate investing. I
Yeah.
could basically do both at the same time.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. And I have a very similar goal as you do. And I'm still, in the military, and so, but I'm looking for that transition to
Right.
where, I don't have to go get a full-time W-2 job afterwards,
Mm-hmm.
and building up your cash flowing real estate portfolio is a fantastic way to do that. So, yeah, that's awesome, man. So what got you started down this journey? Like, when did you start, and and what's kind of the reasoning behind it? Why do you choose, St. Louis? Why do you choose Cashflow Tactics? Why do you choose real estate in general?
Yeah. So what I just described, I was at that decision point where my daughter was born, and that was probably the catalyst, because now I was more inclined, I wanted to be at home more. Not that I didn't love my wife, but she was working at the time. So,
Yeah.
everything changes when I had my daughter, and so I was just at a decisive point. I wasn't, I was a little bit stagnant in my job. It's a good job. I like flying, but I knew that I was capable of more. And so those two catalysts basically, it's really weird how life works. All of a sudden, my buddy from West Point that I haven't seen in a long time is putting out some content on YouTube. He's basically starting to flip to investors. He'd built up a massive portfolio of his own. So I just gave him a call, and, so we were talking about the real estate deal. And so I started to dig in more into that. And I realized how powerful a tool real estate can be to create wealth. And then he had just gotten linked up with some guys that use whole life insurance with entrepreneurs to accelerate our results and just build long-term wealth. And essentially they coupled those together. They built Cashflow Tactics. I was kind of one of the first people that started to really utilize it the way they were selling it together, packaged. And just the value that it's created in my life. It's completely changed, how I live, and how I think, especially around finances. And so, yeah, the rest is history, man. We're just rolling at this point.
Oh, that's cool. So explain a little bit. I mean, I know it's a pretty deep concept, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. But like you kind of mentioned it, using it with the Cashflow Tactics model, using a whole life insurance policy to buy real estate. You kind of explain it in layman's terms, in a elevator pitch, if you will.
Yeah, the short version is that essentially it's just the best place to store your capital. You're going to get a guaranteed rate of return on that money. It's safe, it's liquid, and you can leverage it. And how you leverage it is you store your money, your capital inside the life insurance policy. You get that rate of return, and whenever you want to use it, instead of drawing that money out and breaking that compounding cycle, you're able to take a loan from the life insurance company leveraged against that money to go out and then buy cash flowing real estate. And so you're just living on that arbitrage between the two, while also still accruing, compounding interest on your money that's actually still with a life insurance company.
Okay. And then you still have a life insurance policy as well, right?
Exactly. So that way, in the event that something does happen, my wife's taken care of. She's not left with a big, or a portfolio of investment properties to manage with no money on the backside of that.
Yeah. That's good, man. I definitely want to dive in more to that. And I know it's too much for this conversation.
Yeah, that gets deep.
Yeah. And I'm still learning. I've started watching some Cashflow Tactics videos, and definitely want to learn more about it. Well, cool. So where are you at now, and where do you want to be in the future? What's your goals?
So right now I'm under contract on my 10th property in St.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. When we originally set my plan out with the Cashflow Tactics guys, it was to buy 2 properties the first year, 2 properties the second year. And 18 months in, I'm closing on my 10th property, which is really exciting, and my goal is to just get to the point of complete financial independence from that passive cash flow. So that's my, short to medium term goal.
That's great, man. And so all of those properties you're doing with that strategy of the whole life insurance policy?
Yes. Yeah. That's basically the bedrock of the financial plan that I've got going forward.
Okay. All right. That's great, man. So what are the tools that you're using, or what resources you're using to use, to accomplish this goal?
Yeah, so the resources I'm using is obviously I'm not the one going out and finding, renovating, placing a tenant. So I'm using a team. I'm leveraging their experience, their business, to basically get the results that I want,
Yeah.
And yeah, so having that team, the operator is massively important, because he's got the local area knowledge, and then probably the second most important, well, that's, that's an important part, but the most important piece is having a network, right? Like being a part of the Cashflow Tactics group has been massive because, when you're doing this on your own and you're talking to people that aren't real estate investors, that aren't utilizing this strategy, you can feel completely isolated. So to me, having that network of people is just massively important.
Yeah. No, that's so true, man. It's so true. Well, cool. Let's see. Tell me about something that has kind of gone wrong. Like, is there anything, I know, everything's supposed to go right in turnkey models, right?
Yeah.
Has there been a challenge for you in your journey so far?
Yeah. We've had a lot of different hiccups here and there. We've had something that didn't appraise out, so we completely scrapped a deal after spending 6 weeks on, analysis and being under contract and trying to get the loan. So I've had little stuff like that, but the biggest plan derailment for us was my son was born. So now we have 2 kids, and my wife is really struggling with whether or not she goes back to work. The hard part, she loved her job. And so we decided she could work from home. So we decided to get a nanny, and it was great. It was cost effective with the 2 kids to have her, rather than put them in a daycare. My wife was at home with them. So it was great. And we went down to Costa Rica for a family vacation, and, we got spotty, cell connection. But our nanny, just texted us and said that she had to move back to San Diego, and it was a pretty short timeline. And so that changed our plan, because with my wife working, we were able to utilize her W-2 and have 10 open loan positions. So we had a relatively clear path to 19 properties.
Yeah.
And so we had to make a really difficult decision. Do we give that up, and allow her to stay home to take care of the kids and start using some of the cash flow to fund our life, or do we put the kids in daycare, trying to scramble, maybe try to find another nanny, so that was an inflection point for sure. But at the end of the day, having her home with the family has been, you can't measure that, and so we were willing to sacrifice that clear path because, there's another way to get there. It's going to be a little bit more difficult. It's honestly not going to be more difficult. It's just going to be a little bit more expensive, right?
Yeah, take a little longer.
Exactly, right. But we were willing to sacrifice that time now, because it's, this is what's most important is our family. It's the whole reason why we're doing what we're doing. But, I was definitely had to work through that, to see the big picture, because it's easy once you get started on this path just to put your head down and you don't see, you lose focus because you're putting one foot in front of the other. You're just trying to work through and acquire more properties and build that passive cash flow.
Yeah. Yeah. And you wrote a fantastic article on LinkedIn about that struggle. And I mean, it was spot on, man. It was really good. So I commented on it, but I'll try to link that
I appreciate that. Yeah.
article as well. It was really good. So
I tell a lot of people I write it for other people, but oftentimes I'm just trying to work through everything in my head. It helps me to put stuff down on paper,
Yeah, man, absolutely. I mean, and a lot of these interviews that I do are like, I'm trying to learn as well. Like, I want to dig in more on this, on what you guys are doing at Cashflow Tactics. And so yeah, absolutely. Well, cool, dude. Well, anything else that you want to add? I have a few questions for you at the end here. But anything else you want to add, as far as, what you're doing?
No, I don't think so, man. That pretty much hits all the high points,
Yeah, dude. You're doing great, man. I congratulate you for sure.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Well, cool. So quick round here, request for information. Number one, what is your favorite education resource? It could be a book, a podcast, whatever it may be. What's your go-to resource that you tell people about?
Yeah, definitely podcasts, and I know there's all the obvious real estate investing podcasts, and those are great. But, two of my favorite podcasts that I've been listening to are the Tim Ferriss Show and the Finding Mastery podcast with Michael Gervais. And those are both great resources. They talk to a broad, range of people and just high performing individuals. And it's good because there's these people that you look at them and, in your mind, they're anomalies, but when they actually start talking, you realize they have a lot of the same fears and struggles as everybody else. And so it kind of just opens up your mindset a little bit to see, how these people think, and then just honestly to realize like, hey, anybody can be there, if you work hard and you got the right mindset.
Yeah. That Tim Ferriss podcast, I think, is really good. I listen to it quite a bit. They're real long, so it takes like 3 or 4 days to listen to a full one.
Absolutely.
And then he wrote that book, Tribes of Mentors. That it's like that thick. But yeah, you're right, man. Just you start putting together all these super successful people, and they're doing the same stuff that we can. That we can put together and do as well. So it's fantastic suggestion there. If there's one thing that you could tell your younger self, what would that be?
Don't be afraid of failure. I think we're taught, to not fail early on, or failure is frowned upon. And
especially in the military, right?
Oh, absolutely. Right. So having kids it's funny. Having kids is what kind of taught me to, go easy on myself on that. Cause I watch my kids learn and they learn by failing, and it's easy to see when someone's learning a physical skill, like a kid trying to walk, because they just fall over and over and over, but eventually they learn how not to fall. So if I could go back in time, I would tell myself to try to reframe failure and not be afraid of it, but just learn from your failures or your mistakes and then just keep moving.
Yeah. There's I think the CEO of Spanx. I don't know if you saw that, but she said that at the dinner table they asked their kids what they failed at today.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
That's good.
Yeah. Okay. So what is one piece of advice that you would give to another service member or veteran if they're wanting to do what you're doing?
I would say first and foremost, go out and find a group of people that are doing what you want to do and have done it. There's a lot of good groups out there. You got the Military Investor Network, you got Active Duty Passive Income. Those are a good, solid group of military guys. And then the Cashflow Tactics, obviously, but just find a group that you resonate with. That's probably the difficult piece. There's a lot of groups doing what you want to do, but find the one that, the people have the same passions and they're doing it for the same reasons. And then, so develop that network so that you can improve your skill sets, right? Just actively learn. Don't just expect to be spoon-fed the information. Go look at podcasts, books. There's so many free resources online now. There's absolutely no excuse not to begin to learn, and then, both of those are going to help you cultivate the mindset you need to be successful. But once again, that piece isn't passive either. You've got to, do some inner work to develop that mindset, but I think those three things, if you develop that network, the skill set and mindset, like you're going to be successful.
Yeah, that's good. That's great, dude. Well, cool. Well, how can our listeners get in touch with you if they want to reach out to you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn and also Facebook as well. I'm probably I'm pretty active on both. Primarily just with the real estate side of the house and investing and, the personal finance aspect. But either one of those are good resources. I'll see messages from either one of those. So I'm always happy to help or answer questions or just talk to people about my experience and try to help others, kind of move in this direction,
Cool. And what about Cashflow Tactics? Is it just cashflowtactics.com or what's the
cashflowtactics.com. You can go check that out. That every so often they do a webinar to just explain their process. It's a live webinar. One of typically two of the three guys are on there. It'll be either Ryan, Brad, and Jimmy. One of those or two of those three guys will be on there. And it gives like a really good broad outline of what they're doing and more importantly, why they're doing it. And So check it out.
All right. Well, cool, dude. Well, it was great to talk to you today. I really appreciate it. It's been fun, keeping in touch with you, and I know we'll continue to do so. Yeah, man, thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, Stu.
Yeah, dude, for sure. All right. Take it easy.